What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Rick Knows Hoops. I'm your host, Tyreek, and it's halfway through the NBA season. All-Star break just wrapped up. Games are about to get back starting, so I just want to talk about the first half award races and who I would pick for the awards right now if the season were to end today. And I'm also just talking about some surprise teams, some surprise players too. So let's get into it, but before we start, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and let's get it. Let's start with the big award, the MVP. Obviously, Giannis has won back-to-back, but it's probably not going to win this year. And if you've been paying attention to my videos, I pretty much flip my MVP like every other day. Like, it's been a close race. You know, LeBron, Embiid, Jokic really been leading the way. Steph Curry, Dame Lillard also been in the award running. But I'm going to go with Joel Embiid. Even without including his numbers, he just looks so dominant this season. Philly's number one in the Eastern Conference, and they've pretty much been number one all season, and it's mainly because of Embiid. And I think it's like a "what have you done for me lately" type of situation, especially with this award. And last time we seen Embiid on the court, he dominated Rudy Gobert. Like, he really dominated him in that game, and they won. They beat the best team in the NBA. So I'm gonna go with Joel. I think he's averaging like 30, 11. I think he's shooting like 50, 40, and he's always been a good free throw shooter, so I'm going to just assume he's above 80%. But I know he's definitely shooting 40% from deep and 52 from the field, I believe. So he's been efficient, he's been great, and he's been locked in, which we love to see from Joel. LeBron's been having a great season. I think like the stock, like the value lately has kind of gone down just because of the way they had like that 4-game losing streak and stuff. So that kind of took a toll. But, you know, he's been great. He's been LeBron. You know, defying the odds at, you know, age 36 now, I think. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but, you know, he's right up there. And if you ask me again in a week or two, I might have a different person for you. Jokic has also been amazing, pretty much putting up career highs almost across the board. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Joel, though, for my MVP for the first half of the season. Next up, let's do Rookie of the Year. I think this is pretty obvious. LaMelo. I mean, you can't understate how great LaMelo's been this season. There's some guys in the running like Anthony Edwards has had some really good moments. Tyrese Halliburton, when he's been on the court, has been great. I think it's really like LaMelo's award to lose, and I don't see him losing it because ever since becoming a starter, he's been even better. And the team's been better. Like, they're pushing for the playoffs. They have a good chance. At the very worst, they'll be in that play-in situation, I believe. I mean, the Hornets have looked a lot better when LaMelo's on the floor. And it's a very fun team to watch. Like, you should tune into the Hornets games. Not only are they exciting on the court, you know, LaMelo's been playing good. Miles Bridges, P.J. Washington had a career game a couple weeks ago. Terry Rozier's been having a lot of big games, too. And they have, like, the best announcers in the NBA. Like, the announcers, they definitely be locked in and providing some great like calls and stuff. So yeah, tune into the Hornets, and LaMelo is pretty easily Rookie of the Year so far. Next up, let's do Sixth Man of the Year. Another award, straight to the point. Jordan Clarkson, he's been amazing this season. He's been consistent, shooting the ball really well, especially from downtown. Had a few big games also. Jordan Clarkson, I think it's easily his award. I mean, there's been some guys that have been really good. Like, you know, I think D Rose will probably like, you know, get some votes. I think all the first place votes should go to Jordan Clarkson. Probably forgetting some guys that like should be in some consideration, but he's just been that good this season that you're not really focusing on anybody behind him because he's leading the way by, you know, a mile. Like, he's pretty much lapped the competition in that award race. And yeah, unless like, you know, as long as he stays on the court and stuff, he's gonna win that award. Shout out to him and the Jazz for, you know, being a little bit of a surprise team this season, but it's good to see him playing some great basketball in Utah. Next, we got Defensive Player of the Year. This kind of like a closer race for real. Obviously, Rudy Gobert's gonna be up there, but give me Ben Simmons. Not only would I like to see a guard win it, I just think the value that Ben Simmons has to this Philly team, especially on the defensive side, gets overlooked at times. Like, people focus so much on this jump shooting that, you know, they don't see the impact that he actually has on the team night in and night out. Really somebody that can guard 1 through 5, you know, and guard 1 through 5 well. And he's asked to guard a lot of guards. Like, he's, you know, takes the challenge a lot. I remember when he was guarding Luka, he really, like, that's one of the few times I've really just seen Luka struggled. Like he was in a straitjacket. Like he couldn't do anything because Ben Simmons was all over him defensively. So give me Ben Simmons. Give me Ben Simmons. I would love to see a guard win it. I just think Ben Simmons, he might have, a Defensive Player of the Year award in his future, if not this season, definitely in the future. So shout out to Ben Simmons for being one of the premier defenders in the NBA. Most improved. Christian Wood was, really making a great case, but he hasn't been on the court in so long. Mikhail Bridges, I think, is another guy. I'm not even sure what his counting numbers is, but just watching him as a player, he looks so much better this season. But I think it has to go to Jeremy Grant. I mean, he went to Detroit specifically because he wanted to expand his game. He wanted a bigger role. And I was one of those people in the camp like, can he do that? Like, is that in his game? But then you look at Jeremy Grant, he's somebody that's gotten better and better each season. And, this year he's a 20-plus point per game scorer, and he's been amazing. And he's really had some, really great games, too. And even though Detroit isn't, a good team, it's great to see him do what he said he's going to do. He said he wanted a bigger role, and he's thriving in that role. So shout out to Jeremy Grant. There's also guys like DeAndre Hunter, who's really improved, but he's been out with injury, too. There's probably more guys that I'm not even thinking of that have really improved their games, drastically compared to last season. But, I think Jeremy Grant has to do it. He said what he wanted to do, and he's out there doing it. So shout out to him for betting on himself, basically. And the last award, Coach of the Year. I could be very boring here and be like, Doc Rivers or Quinn Snyder or even like Monty Williams because Phoenix has been really good. But I'm going to go with Tom Thibodeau. And here's why. He's completely changed the culture in New York. Like, we're seeing the Knicks being a really good defensive team. And, from what I've heard from, players talking, the culture shift is, insane. And Tom Thibodeau is the leader of that. Young players, they want to, work. They want to work. And that's one thing Tibbs is going to do. You're going to work. You're going to work for your playing time. And it's really, it's been evident on the court because, Julius Randle, all-star, having his best season. Emmanuel Quickley, who a lot of people, which I still don't know why, they didn't value him as a prospect. Like, a lot of people had him late second round or something like that. They didn't value him as a prospect. He's been great. RJ Barrett has really, improved over his rookie year. And I don't think his rookie year was as bad as people were making it out to be. But he's been so much better, with the structure that Tom Thibodeau has brought in. Derrick Rose being back, playing some really good basketball. Mitchell Robinson's been pretty good at times. Nerlens Noel been playing well. And, the list goes on and on. This Knicks team is, they're above 500. Nobody saw that coming. And if you say that you saw that coming, you're lying. Because nobody thought that the Knicks were going to be, pretty much fighting for home court advantage halfway through the season. So I got to give a big shout out to Tom Thibodeau. He's my Coach of the Year for the first half of the season. And shout out to the Knicks because we'll probably see playoff basketball back in the Garden this spring. So let's talk about some, surprise teams. This first team's not really a surprise team because I knew that they were going to be good, but it's just I love seeing them play. I love watching them play, basically. One of my favorite teams to watch. Scratch that. My favorite team to watch, the Phoenix Suns. They've been, just a joy to watch this season. I didn't know that they were, I think, second to last in pace, which is, because they have a lot of young players, but, they've still been just great to watch. Devin Booker's been phenomenal. He's been more efficient. Chris Paul just doing his thing. All-star again. Shout out to CP3 for helping change the culture. Shout out to Monty Williams, James Jones for really, changing this team because this has been a bottom of the barrel team for the past, half decade. They haven't made the playoffs since I was in 4th grade. I'm 21 years old. They haven't made the playoffs since I was in 4th grade. I think 2010 was the last time that they were in the playoffs. I think they lost. Yeah, they lost. They made the Western Conference Finals, but they lost to Kobe and that Laker team. But, it's great to see the culture shift there in Phoenix. Chris Paul, Jay Crowder coming in was a big addition. I just love watching that team play. I already talked about the Knicks being kind of a surprise. So I'm going to mention another team. Of course, OKC's always overachieving, but that's kind of just their thing. They overachieve. That's just what they do. I had another team in mind. The The Bulls have actually been a lot better. The Bulls have been a lot better than we expected. They're in the mix of that playoff too, so it's good to see the Chicago Bulls looking like a playoff team. You know, Utah, of course, I don't think anybody really expected them to be the best team in the league at this point, but it's good to see them, you know, overachieving. Yeah, those are just some surprise teams. I feel like I'm forgetting a team, and if I remember it, I'm going to come back to it. But, yeah, those are my surprise teams for the first half of the season. Disappointments, there's kind of been a lot of them team-wise, you know, like Miami, Toronto. I think the Mavericks to an extent kind of disappointing, but I think the main one is like the Celtics. The Celtics, I know obviously I've talked about it 100 times, Marcus Smart being out and, you know, all the stuff that happened in the offseason, but, you know, still a pretty disappointing team. But then there is the case that their core players have only played 2 games together, so you should expect them to maybe pick it up in the second half. Also, the Pacers have been very disappointing after a very good start. They fell off a cliff, and it seems like nobody's talking about it. But yeah, I think like you can maybe throw the Hawks in there. I didn't expect the Hawks to be competing for home court like some people did, but they have been a little underwhelming considering all the offseason additions they had. But they have dealt with a lot of injuries too. You got to keep that in mind. And this is the other surprise team I just remembered: the Spurs. The Spurs have been really good this season. I think I talked about DeMar DeRozan, how he probably should have made the All-Star game, but he didn't. But that's neither here nor there. But the Spurs, they've been really good. Quietly, they're firmly in playoff position. So it's good to see San Antonio potentially getting back into the playoffs after finally missing it last season for the first time in like 20 years, I think, or 21 years. Crazy, but yeah, that was the other team. That's a wrap, y'all. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And also, I know I'm ripping a lot of merch, but it says Life is Precious. That's my guy D Knight. He's a rapper. That's the name of his album. I'm going to leave the link to his album and his social medias in the description. So go ahead, check him out for me, man. He makes some great music. He's out of the 937 area in Ohio, Dayton area. So, you know, check him out. Very talented guy. Very humble dude as well. So check him out for me. And I'm going to be back next time with another video, y'all. Peace.